Hey, wait,
Hey,
dude, what's up, man? How you doing?
hey, look at this is a thing that we're doing. So I gotta just jump right in. Everybody, welcome to what is this? 16, episode 16? Is it really episode 16? Because didn't we have like the weird Tetrisy episode? Are we just not counting that as like an
I
episode?
I think it's more of my
Technically episode 15. I'm just saying we can tease that as our great magical lost episode when we get really
I
big and famous.
or we could just say TK is just fumbling with the numbers and he doesn't know how to follow a strand. But yeah, no, I will go with that. That was a weird
Sure.
episode. It was an off week for
For
well
both
for
of
me,
us.
for both
Yeah.
of us. Yeah, but mine was like kind of really like I needed that week to kind of just reset the button and all of that good stuff. But welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just got to put it up front, especially for folks like jumping in. I spent most of the day chasing after a hyped up toddler, not toddler, 5-year-old. Gosh, she's not a toddler. Chasing after a hyped up 5-year-old down at the beach.
Hmm.
So I spent a lot of time running in sand, and I am not in shape for that. So I am proper burnt out. So Juan's
Dude,
going to be extra crispy for this broadcast, just trying to keep up.
that could be a good thing or a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how how you feel about that conversation. We're gonna go extra crispy today on one. Actually, it's been an interesting week.
It's been
So
a really it's this
it,
week has been a month, man.
yeah,
This week has
it's
been a lot.
April's only a weekend, and we're already kind of like, is it over yet? No. Um, there's a
We're a
lot of things
third of the
going on.
way through 2021.
Yes, Q1 is over. Uh, Q2 is in. We are about a week away from
Not a
Sony
third of the way.
unveiling.
We're a quarter. What? Well, no, wait. One,
No,
two,
we're
three, four. Is yeah. We're into. We
we're
finished the first quarter, so we're
yeah.
starting the end
April
of it.
8th. We're like 8 days into April, so like not even
Oh God,
can't
yeah,
even say
math is
half it.
hard.
It
You
is.
can't count past 15, and I can't figure out months. This is the best podcast ever.
Yes, that's how we do it. We have Gary in the chat, Aditya as always manning the
Hey,
station.
we got Ronald, Ranesh.
Andrew, of course, and we have all of our crews here, man. They're here to cheer you on and keep everybody kind of like
We're gonna do this. This is
uh
gonna be good. This is gonna be fun. Who
I
knows
like
what
it.
I'll say? I've been
I
talking so much this week.
This week is going to be, yeah, I'm going to try to keep Juan in check so he doesn't break any kind of embargoed
Well,
NDA things.
right. A few things that we definitely both know about that we can't talk about. But then
uh,
also, I
things,
just don't want
yes.
us to tank our new channel here before we can really properly build. Like we're gonna train the YouTube algorithm to just not like us.
Not like us at all. But so as a week, just for reference, I was kind of in the same boat where we have spring break this week with my son. So we've been kind
Mhm.
of doing things that are, trying to go out. I actually got a chance to go to Magic Mountain, which is
That's rad.
unheard of. Like I didn't even think this was going to happen. But
Yeah, that's cool.
that was actually nice. We've been there twice. Today was actually the second day. Um, and then we're going back on Sunday. So look,
Wow. Dang, it made like you got
it
stuff to do.
it's close, it's
So nice. We
local,
went
and
twice.
yep, exactly. And and what Omar's enjoying it a lot. I think that's primarily what it is.
Well, I'm glad to
Uh,
hear that. We're gonna try and back up this weekend with a zoo visit, just another big open air. No, when Magic Mountain doing what do you appointment for like entry
yes,
times?
appointments only, and I think they're about 15 to 20% capacity. So very,
Oh
um,
wow, so
uh,
really lean.
it's really lean, but because of the social distancing and the staggering, so no ride fully runs with everybody on it. They're skipping rows, so
Oh,
they're doing this the social distancing on the ride as well,
gotcha. So
and they're
so it,
also
it takes you just as long to go through the rides because each ride goes at like one
it
quarter capacity. Also, okay.
absolutely, and they're not letting people mix. So if you're by yourself, you're going to sit by yourself in that row. You can't sit with somebody from another family. So there's a lot of rules that we're going in, but at the end of the day, it is super, super nice that we have a choice or a place to go to that is, and that Omar enjoys and we enjoy, and we haven't
Yeah.
been able to go for. over a year. Like I
I
cannot
it's
believe
just
when we were. Yeah,
watching little Lex. I can only imagine for Omar being a little older too, and
yeah,
being able to really participate on that stuff. For Lex, it's just watching her little face light up because like it, she's been on hold for a year. And this was
absolutely.
a really outgoing, gregarious little kid who loved interacting with people
Hmm.
and loved finding crowds of people and being in the hustle and bustle. And I mean, like, I purposely took her out to a stretch of the beach on Malibu that was vacant when we got there. But, for someone would go jogging down the beach with their dog and you would just watch her like beam, like she was outside and there was like some sense of civilization
Sand and
around her.
sun and yeah, no, and
So
that's,
nice.
you got to get them something to feel a little bit of sense of normalcy. We deal with our own level of stress, and we do things to be able to relieve that, some of that. But for them, their whole world was put on hold, like literally the world. I mean, they
Yeah.
have internet, they have TV, but that's not the same as playing with
Yeah.
friends
Not,
and stuff.
yeah, definitely not
Yeah,
the same.
doesn't.
And then also, I mean, like Marie and I have still been trying to be somewhat conscious of like, it's not going to be healthy to replace Lex's social interactions with like just shoving a tablet in her face and telling her to go nuts. So,
Absolutely. No,
so
absolutely.
it's definitely been a challenge. But
There's some
I
important
feel
things.
like we lead off this week because I feel like for both of us that probably was the best of our week, like
In a
getting
weird,
outside
going
and
outside,
like
man. I'm
doing
telling you,
something.
I mean, in a weird way, I'm glad California is moving in that direction, slowly but surely.
Right.
Um, but it's a little bit of a nice little glimmer of enjoyment during the, we haven't been able to go on vacation. Let's just say that we haven't been going anywhere. We haven't been doing anything. So short answer, very, very happy. But there were some things going on. Obviously, we
Mhm.
had a couple of good. You actually had a couple of good videos. Obviously we saw the major announcement earlier this week,
Yeah.
or late last week with early this week. But you and you kind of led into that with that last video you did last Friday, I think, right? That I think that went live right after our last conversation. And then there was that really nice, OnePlus versus Samsung conversation that you also had on another video that you posted. I'm sure everybody else check it out. And then I got a chance to play with the behemoth that is the ultra of the
That's
ultras.
that's a big
Uh,
chunk.
That's a
That's
big that is a that's a leverage. I mean, it's a thick bump. Let's just say that this is not a.
that's
And I didn't think it
pretty
was going to
high.
be as pronounced. And once I got in my, and like, no, no, yeah, yeah, you
It's
can't go around it.
I mean,
It's
we're
there.
we're we're talking like bigger than Note 20, right?
Yes, and remember, and it goes all across.
Yeah. So I
But
mean, again, it's like you've got a phone and a chunk of a Surface Duo stapled to the back of that phone.
Surface Micro, I would say, because it's a 1 by 1 inch display. It's, the display is
It
actually
is
nice.
it is really cute though.
It
That is
is.
really cute.
So I've been playing with it for the last 48 hours, and very, very. I preface it that I started the video by saying, look, the first Ultra came out. I felt like didn't really hit the mark. It kind of missed the mark that everybody was expecting from it. This
Mhm.
Ultra is hitting notes on many, many levels. The sensor that we have, dude, the GN2 sensor that we have with the 248, the ability of shooting, let's say that 8K in on all the rear lenses,
Yeah. That's
4K
pretty cool.
60 on all the lenses. I'm like, Xiaomi just took the book that Samsung wrote and said, "Oh, you gave it to one, we'll give it to all."
I
Okay,
mean, you almost kind of feel bad for OnePlus because OnePlus took the book that Samsung
so
wrote and went like, "No, we can do a
yeah,
sensor better." And then
we could
Xiaomi
do.
was like, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, exactly. It's like, uh, yeah. I mean, you're there, but yeah. Let me show you how we. It was very. So I mean, and I said it like, truly, this is the phone that's going to surprise you. This is the phone that
Mhm.
you go into it thinking, nah, they're hyping it up. Nah, I don't think this is too much. Yeah, I don't think this is real. And then you get a chance and you take some pictures and you're like, crap, this is actually nice. This is really good. I will say this now, but I'll probably obviously a lot of people say the front sensor is okay.
Mhm.
It's not the selling point, but Xiaomi knows that because they gave you a display in the back saying, "Hey, no, use the good stuff. Use that triple beauty that you have in the back, and don't worry, we gave you a front. You could do a selfie if you want every once in a while." Um,
Well, I mean, you'd still want like for video calls. Like that. I mean, when you are making such a concerted effort to get people to use that rear camera,
Yeah.
it makes sense that you don't need as much firepower on the front. And it's
No.
just cracking me up. Like I forget what outlet it was. It was one of the Android blogs, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Why even bother putting a camera on the front?" And you're like, "You guys have so lost the plot
What?
on reviewing phones that you can't conceptualize that the primary use for a front-facing camera is still like video
Video
calling."
calls, video chat, video
You-
call.
It's
It's
how
that.
bad you've gotten at
It's
reviewing
it's
things.
that thing you do with your mom, when your mom calls and you got to answer, you got to do video.
No, I'll do the video call from that great camera on the back with the little thumbnail display.
Which
That's how I'll talk to my family. That's
it's
great.
it's definitely it's a very interesting approach, but I love it when an OEM owns the experience and
Oh
truly
yeah.
wants to drive you to their best
Well, I
quality.
mean, it's everything that I wanted from like the like ZTE with the Nubia,
Mhm.
from the flip up camera on an Asus. How I just still, I mean, like I took a bunch of selfies with Lex at the beach with the OnePlus 9s. I took both of the phones down to the
The
beach.
OnePlus 9, I have to say,
And
selfie
I
is
was
pretty
just
good.
shooting. No, I mean, like, I don't bother with the selfie cameras. Miss me with the selfie cameras. I was shooting everything blind
Like
from the rear cameras.
ultra wide all the way. No, just kidding.
I mean, it's like Xiaomi was listening to my whinging on like 3 CESs ago when we saw the
Go.
very first ZTE shown off, and you're like, yeah, that's a way to do it. I mean, you could also just put like a little mirror behind the side of the camera, but
I
if you're gonna
like
do it right. Do it
so
legit.
I would probably say they went the closest to your request as possible. So the model I
Hmm.
got, which not all reviewers did receive, is
Hmm.
let me say this here. Can you see
Mirror
yourself?
finish.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And I really got to talking to Xiaomi about this because like
they're
every time
impossible to shoot.
absolutely, it's like the craziest thing. So you
Where
end
is
up
it?
having to basically flip over into manual mode with focus peaking on whatever. Yeah, exactly. I have the exact same finish. Hey, I like it.
Here,
It's
I'll just do the whole show of like we'll have TK in both windows. Thanks to the mirror finish on a Xiaomi.
yeah. See, now I'm dancing with myself. This is just weird. This is just
Dancing
weird.
with myself.
Myself
Oh.
dancing.
And we got a
Okay,
copyright strike. All right, great.
and that's
So
how the show ended. So short
see you next
answer,
week.
there is a white version of it that was ceramic back, of course. That I
Yeah,
think,
that one looks real sharp. Because you know
yeah,
what that one reminds me of is the Nokia 808.
it definitely pulls up a lot
It
of
looks
nostalgic
a
look.
lot like, yeah.
The massive camera bump on the, yeah, exactly. It to me it was short answer is this: the phone is super super promising. The camera performance is crazy good. 120 again, exact same page taken from Samsung's book. It's a thing to have on the back. I think anything beyond 10x realistically starts
Yeah.
becoming too degraded. But if you ever wanted to prove that you could see something from a mile away, it's there. And I think
And
it's nice
I'll
in
be
that
curious
aspect.
to see if any company can really step up for better, like sort of machine learning,
Hmm.
crop zoom, image enhancement. Because
They,
they are technically correct that, I mean, the same thing with the OnePlus 9 Pro.
mhm,
Um, when you zoom out to around 10 times zoom,
mhm.
it's actually really strong. It's
Yeah,
got a tiny little zoom sensor. This is not the strong suit of the OnePlus 9 Pro. It's
no,
good, but it's not going to compete against an S21. It's definitely not
the
going to
Ultra.
compete against any of the periscoping,
Hmm.
the moving element cameras. But then they
Hmm.
hype up this 30 times zoom, and
Hmm.
as soon as you start getting to like, once you start cresting over 10 times zoom, you can really see, with every increment of magnification through cropping, how much more the image is degrading as you keep going. And same
Yeah,
thing I felt with Samsung. Samsung was stronger with the S21, but it's not a 30 times zoom. It is
no,
not a 30 times zoom you're ever going to want to keep the photos at the far end of that telephoto, but it's so strong at like 10 to 20.
yeah, no.
Like, it's so functional and it looks so good.
It's the most powerful sensor they had on that phone. I mean, I mean, from a megapixel side, if
It's the
you think
one
about
that
it,
they do all the
yeah,
heavy,
I was
8K
gonna say.
video. This telephoto sensor.
Mhm. No, no, but that was the weird thing. Like when you read the specs on the back, you're like 12, 12, what? how did that? Yeah,
Yeah,
it was one of those
yeah,
approaches, and then of course the Ultra or the S21 Ultra. I felt like that's going to be really the zoom or the telephoto king at this point, mostly because there's two telephoto sensors, a 3 and a 10, and they
yeah.
both perform well, and it's really hard to beat. That's roughly. I mean, if you really live in that space where telephoto is all of that you want to shoot, I feel like that really
Mhm.
speaks very clearly. And I think at up to 10x with the Ultra, the Mi 20, the Mi. See, I gotta now start saying Mi 11 Ultra because every time I say
Right.
the Ultra, there's two Ultras on the market. Um,
Well, I
it
mean, 11 Ultra. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go full
That's
brand name. You
true.
could say
No, no, no.
21 Ultra and 11
11
Ultra and
Ultra,
just leave off the Me and the Galaxy, and I think we'll all be able to grok it.
or I could just call it the best Ultra out of the two because the other one in yeah.
Ooh, shots fired.
You know
Be
what?
very careful because let me tell you, if you say
I
anything
said that in
critical
the
of
video.
Samsung Knights, boy, howdy do they come crawling out of the woodwork to call you a hater.
I may end up
So
getting some flack at
angry.
some point.
So
But no. So
angry.
the 11 Ultra truly surprised me because like I said, I initially my impressions were it's going to focus heavily on the back sense on the back of the display. We're really going to be, I mean, we obviously haven't seen any other device with the GN2. This is actually the first one to release with it. The 888 we've seen before, obviously the RAM and all that stuff. There's a lot of repetitive flair that we've seen now once we start dealing with what they consider to be their high end. So they stepped it up massively from the Mi 11, and we didn't get a chance to see the Mi 11 Pro, which apparently doesn't come to Western or I guess is not a global edition.
Well, this is also, I mean, you know how I get. This isn't unique to Xiaomi,
Hmm.
but they're going to share in some of my ire. When we were doing, what was it, Galaxy S10s, and then we had Note lights and S10 lights and
Oh, I remember
SEs
that.
and
Yeah, yeah.
pluses, and I I I I feel like Xiaomi already has. All right, just I'm gonna just punch my mic while I try and make a rambling point here. I feel like Xiaomi already has all of these sub brands,
Hmm.
and at some point you've already oversaturated your own sort of stratification of consumer. Like
Hmm.
they're people are ride or die Xiaomi, right? Like
Oh, absolutely.
they've got an incredible fan base, but between all of these individual sub brands, you get to the Mi 11, and what is it? We've got Mi 11, Mi 11 Lite, Mi 11i, Mi 11 Pro, and Mi 11 Ultra.
And then
It's
remember, there's
five,
two lights.
and it's and that's right. They're I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and keep 11 Lite as, even though it's two different phones, as its own
They're on, yeah,
tier.
different SoCs and yeah. So yeah,
Sure.
so
But
you're right.
we'll just say five.
Five.
We'll say five categories of Mi 11,
Yeah,
and that's just
the
me.
Mi's.
But then you also have like the Redmis and the Pocos that should
That's
be
true.
occupying some of these spaces. And and like we were saying, I think we were talking about this last week, or maybe not. I just kind of feel like you should maybe have a sub brand for your ultra premium tier. Like if it's P series versus Mate for
Hmm.
a Huawei.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, they kind of blurred together after a point, but like there were distinctly different ideas for why those two lines started. And I feel like there are different ideas at play when you look at an Ultra
Hmm.
versus a Mi 11. They're
Oh,
really not
they're
much related at this point.
one thing I was trying to show off at the beginning of the video with the design aesthetics, because you could definitely see that the 11 Lite and the 11 very much are within
Oh yeah,
family. You jump into the Ultra, and the Ultra is just so different. It's like it is, yeah, like you said, it's a different series, but it comes in under the Mi 11. I mean, obviously, it's running MIUI. There's a lot of obviously software experiences similar, but when you go down to the hardware, the materials they used on the front, on the back, the ceramic, the to the placement of the speakers, the camera bump on the back, the display, everything literally speaks something different than the rest of the Mi's. So overall, that's the reason why I kind of titled it. You will be surprised with this device
hmm,
because it doesn't follow the trend. It literally broke the
yeah,
mold, and it's starting something that I'm really excited because last year's Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro or the Mi 10 Pro were very much similar hardware. They shared a lot of the same hardware as far as sensors. Even there was just a few differences with the display technology. this time I felt like the difference is it's definitely a step upgrade. And you're right. I feel like Poco can definitely wedge in between certain models, and of course
Oh,
you
but I
get the
just mean
Redmi line.
like you've got Mi 11.
Mhm.
I think they need something different going upscale.
So they have the
Like
Pro, the Mi
no, no,
11
no, 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 no,
Pro.
no, no, no. Don't call it a Mi 11.
Oh, oh, sorry.
Call it a Hyundai Genesis. Like whatever you
The,
want to
Xia-
call it.
the Xiaomi Hyundai
Go,
Genesis
no,
Pro plus 5G.
so Xiaomi is going from like really nice trimmed Toyotas to a
Mm.
Lexus. They
Yeah,
need something to denote that this is a different beast, that this
this
is a
is
different animal. And I feel like it needs to be its own sub brand.
this is the
If
Bentley of the no scare,
yeah, like there's
the
a
big grill.
Galaxy Z series from Samsung. There was going to be the LG Explorer program. The
Well, there was one Explorer. I'm
well,
sorry,
there was going
I
to be a
mean,
program. We only got one phone. I
well,
don't know how
no,
much
no,
of a
yeah,
program that really, but fair enough. You're technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. So
uh,
it's it's I kind of feel like, if you've already trained the Xiaomi consumer to already understand that there's going to be these sub brands, these
mhm,
tiers, I think
yeah,
it's actually just easier to add a new sub brand than it is to diversify to the tune of 5 different models in 1 year. Your top end sub brand, just add something ultra luxury on top of that. And I think it's
yeah,
actually better to kind of communicate what it is that this is supposed to bring.
absolutely. I feel like at some point maybe they will get to that level. This year, it seems like they're trying to release some things that they haven't even done in the past. So the example would be the Ultra. Last year was not actually an international model; it was a China only model.
Right.
They also had the Mi Mix Alpha, which was that whole
Oh,
wraparound
that's
display.
right. I keep forgetting about Mi Mix too, because that's like their skunk works. Like that's
Yeah,
like some
and you
super
forgot the Mi Mix
experimental
Fold.
stuff.
So you got the new Mi Mix Fold. Last year we had the Alpha. So
Too
they've
many.
had
Too many.
they have more. They just
Too
haven't
many.
been releasing any of them.
Nah. They need to
And we're only in
get rid of at least like 7 phone divisions.
go
That's
in go in. It's like, okay, you slash couple, you take two, and just I want just two phones for the whole year. Okay. uh and Xiaomi would be like, but we have no, I'm just kidding. They have a variety, and actually, weird enough, I do have a Redmi coming in about a week or so, one of their
I,
other sub brands.
I'll be totally frank. I don't know that I could hang like if my only job were just reviewing Xiaomi, I don't know that I could hang
I
that. It's
that
a
that would
lot.
I would have to hire an assistant. I would just say that I will have to hire an assistant and just try to kind of double it up. But uh, I've been enjoying
I
playing
need
with the Ultra.
my own standalone editor just for
just
Xiaomi
for
phones.
just for my Xiaomi content. Samsung I can probably do twice a year. Um, but actually, speaking of which I really like, the whole approach that Xiaomi is doing with their hardware and their
Mhm.
development. It's definitely, like I said, refreshing to go when we went all the way from the 732G to the 888 on the Mi 11, and then of course we're still with the 888 here, higher RAM, better configuration as far as overall just build quality, WQHD plus 120. Um, and surprisingly, the UI, because of the 120 with WQHD, runs smoother than the Mi 11. Like, it actually runs faster. I feel
Mm.
like the UI elements, for some reason, I put them side by side, and it feels like it's actually faster, but I can't
Well,
put my finger on it.
I mean, like the first thing I'm gonna try and check out, and obviously I don't think anyone's done an in-depth like tear down
Mhm.
on the 11 Ultra yet.
No,
But
no.
I now have very high expectations for the price performance ratio on anything Snapdragon 888 if they are not cooling this hardware properly.
So
And I
yeah,
would wonder if the Ultra maybe doesn't have a bit more consideration for how they're managing internal temps and managing the thermals than the first phone that was pushed out the market, that feels like it was a little bit more of the frame of last year's phone with just a new
mhm.
SoC slapped on.
So the Mi 11 definitely has some thermal concerns, and obviously it doesn't exist on the Mi 11 Lite because that's the 732 is a well
Mhm.
performing
Yeah,
chipset.
it's
No
fine.
issues at all.
I mean,
Uh,
the 730 runs so much better than you think it would. It's
No, no,
just
absolutely.
we have gotten the hang of squeezing performance out of that chipset.
The, the
It
7
is
series.
shocking.
So one of the reasons why I'm really really wanting to, well, one of the reasons why I was really really hoping that the 780 would be the flagship of the obviously the Pixel 6, but as you probably already heard, and if you guys have seen, reading a whole bunch of things all over the news, Whitechapel, it will be what is dubbed to be Whitechapel, the new SoC, co-created, co-branded, or co-developed
Mhm.
between Samsung and Google, will be running on the Pixel 6, and it won't be the 780 or the 870 as we
Yeah,
were,
we spent all that time talking
I
like,
know,
what
I
what
like,
could you do? Maybe 870. I don't know, maybe the 860. Is that the one
uh,
with 5G?
uh,
And that was all just a waste.
uh,
Yeah, we just wasted everybody's time.
smoke, yeah. Then even we could have just skipped it by just saying Whitechapel
Like,
and moved
I'm not
on.
gonna talk about pixels. That's not a thing.
Because we thought by the
Um,
time we got to Saturday morning, Aditya was hitting me up right away at the beginning. So Joe Hickey and everybody else like, "Hey, have you read on Whitechapel?" And I'm like, and then at that point, I haven't had a chance
I'd
to like really.
I'd honestly kind of forgotten that that was one of, like, the bubbling rumors from, like, 2 years ago that Google
Well,
might start trying to push their own SoC, and it makes perfect sense. And
what?
now I'm really hoping if Google can design an SoC where they can staple on Titan M, they
Hmm.
can staple on Neural Core, and get
Neural
my
core for
Neural
sure.
Core back from the Pixel 4, but then it's on die on
Hmm.
the SoC, where the Pixel 4 is still murking phones today.
Yep.
I mean, again, if you do anything on a phone that has to handle manipulating image data, the Pixel 4 and Pixel 4 XL are still
Bosses,
like,
definitely.
I'm trying to find a way that I can say this, in a very graphic and grotesque way without getting demonetized and deplatformed on YouTube. It's that
Don't
bad
worry about the
that
monetization because
they
we're not
are
even there. But the
that
deplatform, that would be an issue.
aggressively beating current chipset devices. I was going to make some very crude comment about, like, damaging another individual's genitals. Like, it's that tier of embarrassment, on the regular.
On the
So, if we can combine all of those, and if we're at chipset power, like CPU and GPU performance, it's still roughly in tier with, like, a Snapdragon 855.
Mhm.
We're in phenomenal territory. So
Absolutely.
if you combine that with better hardware, software optimization, and the kinds of updates that we're getting from Google,
Mhm.
like, have you played with your Pixel 5 recently?
So as we were starting, everybody, obviously,
Did
so I
you
saw,
just do the OTA, TK?
oh,
You
I
just
did,
booted it up.
no, 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 no. This is after the OTA. It's already installed. So
Oh, okay, so it's rebooting. Sure, okay, that's
yeah,
fine.
I seriously, I like, as we were doing that 5-minute countdown video, I downloaded it, I installed it. It wasn't a
It was
massive
only
update.
16 meg. I mean, it was real
I was
little.
like, how did the speaking of up, yeah, so I did, yeah, I literally
Did
just
you
downloaded the OTA.
No, because I know. I mean, when you've done some of your gaming tests, and obviously you've been focused on some of the higher performance and higher tier gaming phones. Did you do any runs on Pixel 5 for gaming?
Primarily, actually, hold on, I'll tell you right now. That's usually the ones I primarily load. So actually, no, I want to say, take that back. So I did Call of Duty, PUBG Mobile, and Asphalt 9. So it was just kind of a glance. I didn't really focus much, mostly because I didn't feel like Pixel at the time was a big, heavy gaming phone. Like, you don't say, let me go buy a Pixel for gaming. So for
Obviously
me, it
not.
was more of, yeah, just I wanted to showcase the capabilities of the
So
device since it has a higher refresh rate. So,
so
uh,
when we're looking at Pixel
and
5,
Lightspear,
when we're looking at Pixel 5, and we know it's a mid-ranger SoC, it's a 700 series SoC.
exactly.
It
765,
wasn't
very capable.
it wasn't scoring top of the charts for 765. It was kind of mixing it up, kind of back and forth with a few of these other players, 765, especially against, like, a Wing.
Hmm.
I don't know what LG did to their software, but Wing scores some very interesting performance victories
You're talking about
when
the MediaTek or the Qualcomm
no, 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 no,
version?
Wing, not
Oh,
not
no, no,
Velvet.
sorry. Sorry.
Yeah,
Please. I
again,
thought you were talking. Yeah.
that's why Wing was interesting is because Velvet has a few sticky spots, like,
Hmm.
video transcoding, if it's a
Hmm.
not complex video project, takes, like, significantly longer than a more complicated video project to render and reset.
Is it
So
single core versus multi core performance issues?
I don't know. I mean, again, at that point, it's really difficult to get into and see like what is it about the software optimization on one phone that's
Hmm.
making such a stark difference between these others. But then you compare Velvet against Pixel 5, and Velvet starts to feel a lot more like a Snapdragon 855, and a
Hmm.
Pixel 5 feels like a
Like a
700
big
series. Very,
17.
very
Yeah.
good, but not a performance tier phone. So this little 16 meg update, it's benching a 20% improvement to GPU performance scores. So I don't
Whoa.
know
Okay.
if you ran a Geekbench before you did the OTA.
No, I now I'm yeah, now I'm wishing I
I,
did.
I think I've got mine screenshotted, but basically like a Vulcan score around 1000, now scoring like 1200, and it's a practical like real world gaming improvements like 10 to 15% depending
Mhm.
on the games you play. And
Nice.
so I was trying to really run it hard. I did the little video. I put it out this afternoon,
I
but
did. Yes, I
I
that's
was
so
trying
that
to
was
run
the
it
reason why.
hard, and I fire up Dead Cells.
Mhm.
Yeah, like Dead Cells runs great on like a Snapdragon 855. So I'm not thinking like, oh, this is really gonna hurt it, but the Pixel 5, it's not really. And the game was already running at like high 80s, and now it's just pegged. It's just flat as a table, 90 frames per
Frames per sec.
second. And it's so pretty.
So
I just like
I'm wondering if we got a
there's so
GPU
few
update.
games that really tap into a higher refresh.
Yeah, no, no,
And
definitely.
and the game just goes and maxes out at the Pixel 5's refresh, and you're like,
So
"That's
I'm gonna be testing out
stunning."
Call of Duty Mobile because there if there is one thing that I like about gaming phones
They
is the
optimize
ability
really well for the mid-range.
for 90 frames per second. Call of Duty is the way to play it. You do not want to play it at anything lower than that.
Yep.
And even when you're playing like PUBG, you want to run the highest refresh rate, 60 frames. Just those are the things, or even Genshin, if you're going to play Genshin Impact, you want to have that at 60 frames per second as well. Although I do have to say, if you ever really want to stress a phone, play Genshin on extreme. Just run
I
Genshin on extreme, and you can
I've
start
played
cooking.
it. No, I know that this is like the it game right
Oh,
now,
not
but
because of the it game. So there's a specific thing I know with the play to pay and all. I specifically choose Genshin purely because of the stress level that it does on the system.
sure.
It truly,
But
like, if you run it on extreme, if there is any chance your phone will overheat, this is the game that gets it, because PUBG doesn't do it, Call of Duty doesn't do it. But
right.
you run Genshin for about a 30-minute set, you're going to see some temperatures go up.
I appreciate that. No
That
one else has backed me up on a really good buy it once, no obnoxious gotcha mechanics on a
that's the only
game
way I
like
like the
Undead Horde,
boards.
which comes from a developer that makes phenomenal arcadey games for the Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
And you bump up all of the eye candy and the graphic settings on Undead Horde, and a Galaxy S21 is putting out 30 frames per second. So I feel like there are
That's a
some
good try.
other games that we can take. I know. Okay, so I'm not trying to trash anyone though. Like I did play a clip. I mean, for a bit,
Okay.
I was kind of grinding on Honkai,
Mm.
Impact Third,
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
and
Yeah.
after a point, it's not even so much that like the game mechanics get so grindy, and I just there's something about that scantily clad sci-fi futuristic female protagonist vibe that
Mhm.
just starts to wear me out, where I just lose interest. I'm not really particularly interested in anything that kind of resembles a bit of the story.
Mhm.
And I just kind of want to get back to a more traditional dungeon crawler, or a twin stick shooter, or some really good tower defense.
Oh,
Like just
definitely. Yep.
really unit management, and I can play it in quicker clips, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, no,
And so
I'm with you with those. Those are the type of games I enjoy for truly like when I'm not testing, when I'm not trying to
yeah.
push the system. Um,
But I
so
I gotta get you trying Undead Horde because I
it's
think
actually
the
downloading as we speak.
management-y aspect of it, I think you're
Yep,
gonna dig, and especially when you turn up all the eye candy. So for example, on the Pixel 5,
yep.
that is a good representation of a game with at full graphics load, I think is in the mid-20s, and now with this update is getting bumped up to the high 20s.
Nice.
And you're like, you don't wanna play a game at 24, you don't want a cinematic game at
You only
24
want 24
frames per
frames per
second.
second.
You go back in and you turn the settings down on a Pixel 5 so the game can be more fluid. It's again, I feel like there are a few other opportunities where there are some great Android games that kind of get lost in the shuffle. The
Yep.
other one that I want to send a shout out that runs surprisingly well on mobile hardware, and again, I think it's another Switch port, is
Hmm.
Unruly Heroes. Is just a great action platformer with multiple hero units, multiple ways and paths that you can kind of finish objectives per level,
Hmm.
and just a great like jump hack and slash. If you like more platformy games like Dundara or Dead Cells,
Hmm.
it's not as roguelike. So you're not, live die repeat, live die repeat. It is more linear. Um,
Okay.
Unruly Heroes is stinking fun. And again, I'm coming at this game late because it's been out on Switch for I think over a year now.
Dude, I gotta check it out. But I am downloading Undead Horde right now. It is actually downloading.
So
6.99,
I'm
easiest buy right
such
out without
a
without
huge
even thinking
fan of
about it.
10 Tons. So 10 Tons made Neon Chrome.
Hmm.
Neon Chrome is great. And also Tesla versus Lovecraft. And
Okay.
that's another just again, it's so Neon Horde and Tesla versus Lovecraft are the same kind of twin stick shooter, run a map,
Hmm.
kill a bunch of enemies, and then upgrade your unit so that you get better weapons and stuff. Undead Horde is the flip side of that. You aren't particularly powerful, but as you kill bad guys, you resurrect them, and then they
And they
become
become.
your little army. So Neon Chrome runs like butter because you're just running through hallways and just murking anyone that gets in your way.
Mhm.
Undead Horde runs hot because you're facing armies on a map and
Mhm.
you're resurrecting armies as you
On
kill them.
them.
And then as you level up, you can control more units or more
Okay,
powerful
okay.
units. So you have to make a choice. Do I want, you know, tons and tons and tons of weak little units to kind of feed into this wood chipper, or do I want like a couple really powerful hero units to back me up? So the strategy aspect is killer. I just love like that kind of management in a game that is basically the same kind of top down twin stick arcadey kind of control setup.
No, no, absolutely. I'm definitely gonna dive into it, and I want to see exactly how it actually pushes the 888 and the system, especially on the Mi 11 Ultra.
Ooh, it gets toasty.
It, we'll be cooking some. I'll send you a sample. I want to say
But it'd be
goodnight to
really
Adam.
curious because oh,
Yeah,
is Adam taking off?
yeah, yeah. Adam was checking out. Thanks for stopping out.
Ah,
Tech
Tech Odyssey,
Odyssey. I
thanks,
see,
man.
always, always. But yeah, I will keep you posted on
Oh, and
Undead
he's
Horde.
saying he was playing League of Legends. That's another one, like, I really need to
So
spend more time with to try and grok it, but
yeah,
I'm just not good
he
at
was
them, so I
facing.
don't put in a lot of time.
He posted a tweet, I think, about it, saying that it seemed like the game was mostly optimized for the Samsung devices, especially for the higher refresh rate.
Um,
But for some reason, on the ROG Phone 5 and as far as even the OnePlus 9, the high refresh rate wasn't even optimized. So uh, yes, and as and tech and Adam is basically saying right there, it's so good on mobile. Definitely, I want to check it out. I just haven't been able to, man, just spend just a short amount of time, that this whole one after another kind of thing. And this week was kind of a light week for me. I wasn't trying to push out a gazillion videos as I typically try. But thank you, Adam. Appreciate it, man. Hope you're having a good evening. And
'cause
uh,
I tried getting into what was it,
oh, 60
well,
FPS. Wow, that is
no,
low.
a couple
Okay,
a couple years back, what was the MOBA? Vainglory.
Dota. Oh,
Vainglory.
Vainglory. Okay.
So I tried to get into Vainglory. I was really playing that in earnest. Like I wanted to get good at that. And there's something about that kind of map navigation game
Hmm.
where it's not only just like how you pick units to kind of plan out your attack, it's also just like how long it takes you to navigate the map is a part of the strategy of how you fight your opponent. And
Hmm.
the matches take so long that I couldn't really learn how I was failing or how I was making mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I was kind of having like the bad dog syndrome. If someone were there to like correct me in the moment, like, no, doofus, that's not what you're supposed to do. Like, I would learn. I would learn from that. I
Absolutely.
knew I was gonna lose, so I'd get to the end of a round or I'd get to the end of the match, going like, okay, how did I mess that up? It happened. The mistake I made happened so long ago that I couldn't recover from, but I don't know what that mistake was because it happened so
It's so long.
long ago. So I am not wired for MOBA. I just I'm really struggling to get good because
Well,
I just don't get them.
and if you are going to kind of try to get good, apparently on League of Legends, you need to be on an S7, S7 Plus, S21 Ultra. Basically, a lot of Samsung love to be able to get just to
Well,
get the 120, which I feel
no,
like
no,
should
no.
be on more, not more
This
devices. But
this
yeah.
is this isn't unique to Samsung. I mean, like, you know me, I'll tag Samsung when I feel there's the slightest reason for me to tag Samsung. This is actually one of the most frustrating aspects of gaming hardware
Hmm.
on Android, where these higher tier performance features don't have much to do with the hardware of the phone, but relationships between manufacturers and developers to whitelist apps
Yep.
as some kind of perk. Because I mean, the same thing happened with the Razer phone. Same thing
Oh, yeah,
happened with
Fortnite
ROG.
is a bit, yeah, yeah. Fortnite was a big company that did that, unlocking frame rates for OnePlus specifically because they had a collaboration at the release to get the 60 frames per second before anybody else at the time. But no,
Yeah,
it's a very weird. Um,
because
I mean,
I mean, again, it's like I feel like console gamers would
mhm.
get angrier if there was an artificial software cap and people made more noise about. Well, I mean, with similarly powerful hardware, this exact same game plays at half the frame rate on a PlayStation 5
And
than
yeah,
on
it's
an
almost
Xbox.
unenjoyable, which makes no sense. Yeah.
Right.
Total and it's purely on the developer side, which is weird because if you think about it, you almost feel like, well, is it the phone? Not really. Your phone runs perfectly
Uh,
fine. Everything is there. It truly is, as the matter could potentially be, like you said, whitelisting it, just adding it to a list that enables the actual frame rate to be unlocked without banning you, so you don't have to actually try to go to the root method of trying to do things to a smartphone. um and I think Fortnite to me was in the past the most that one that got the most public recognition for it because of the unlocking certain frame rates for certain devices. But League of Legends is actually, a lot of people are very happy that it finally is getting out. It's becoming more
mhm.
popular on mobile. And we have all these smartphones. Like the ROG Phone 5 is a gaming phone. It's literally be like arguably one of the best gaming phones on the market. There are so many other ones that are going to be coming out. If you're not optimizing for the gaming phone, why would you optimize it for the phone that most, that I don't know. Yeah, like
But I mean, again, I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is money and player base.
there obviously is some collaboration between the two. I'm and the only thing we can hope for at some point is that they unlock it and start supporting more devices as time goes on. But
But I mean,
it's
even for obnoxious things like, we could say the same thing. Why is Microsoft so fixated on only Samsung devices for your phone?
and only
Uh,
the S21s.
yeah, I mean, I feel like the answer is pretty clear. So at some point, I think I'm gonna try and write it up. The problem is like the list has gotten so long
Hmm. Yeah.
that I want to like put in links and stuff, and so it's just the time. But I think I'm gonna put that up on the Patreon. Is Juan's list of Android games that don't suck, and I don't know. Hold on, let me
Well,
screen share it here real quick.
it's good.
Let me
Yeah,
just
you
show
already.
people what I'm kind of working with here.
I was gonna
Share
say
screen.
Juan has a list already, guys. Watch out. That's kidding.
And
But yeah,
is
I'm
that
totally with
that
you, Adam. It is irritating. Oh, here it is. Yeah, sorry. Let me add that real quick. and we are minimized. Actually, let me make it big because I think it's with text it's a little bit hard. So
Oh yeah,
people make
I'm not gonna read through this. That would be terrible. But right now, what is it? It's 6 pages, double spaced. So I mean, it's not like it's crazy long. But yeah, I'm definitely taking. So these are all games where if it's reasonable in-app purchases, I'm not including anything with heavy gotcha mechanics or
hmm
gambling mechanics. But so far, categories for tower defense, twin stick, bullet hell, platformers or third person action, fantasy exploration, dungeon crawlers, battle royale, board games, puzzle
hmm
casual, racing, and then a few kid friendly titles that are maybe not just like, you know, sort of kid exploitive, but then, like puzzle games or Peppa the Pig titles, Dr. Panda and PBS Kids. So I'm always looking or hoping folks will send some other stuff my way. But so far this is my list, my starter list. I mean, there are obviously other good games on Android. I'm not saying this is definitive. But when someone says like, "Hey, well, what kind of games can you even play on your phone?" Well, I was like, "Well, I've got a bunch." I don't
I've
know.
got I've got a list that's getting bigger on a and we're adding more. But no, I really want to try more games that I want to play, obviously for enjoyment. So there's a few things I'm very much into. FPS type of games,
Mhm.
the ability of jumping in, get a couple rounds, or if I want to play even longer, I want to do
That's
like
that's kinda
lo-
why I wanna get your thoughts on some of these twin sticks, because I kinda feel like the real short burst mission or
Mhm.
levels of some of these titles, like especially Undead Horde
Yeah.
or, Tesla versus Lovecraft, I think that would appeal to you, like, "Hey, you're just kinda kicking it, maybe Omar's playing something, you're not just trying to, like, peek over his shoulder, you wanna play a round or 2, and it's real quick in, real quick out, and whatever phone you're on
Yeah.
can kind of jump on that as
Does it sync
the
up with play games for score
so
for
unfortunately, it doesn't.
does it
That's
back
the
does
bummer.
it back up somewhere? Does it back up your progress
I
anywhere?
actually so when you transfer data
Mhm.
through a more comprehensive phone backup on like Android, what was it? Google One or Android One? No, what is it? The cloud storage.
Drive? I mean, yeah, Drive. Google Drive, or you're talking about like OneDrive
No, no,
or
no, no, no. But you know what I mean? Like when you actually store your full phone backup,
Mhm.
what is that called? That's gonna bug me. Because it's not just like, oh, we memorized your apps. Like when you've got the full phone backup taking extra cloud storage, that seems to pull your progress.
Okay.
It
So
doesn't go through Google Play Games though. So
okay, so it's
it
pulling
doesn't
the
back it up
OGG
that way.
file somewhere off the file off
And
the
so I've been
phone,
trying to find, in fact, like, there
the
doesn't seem to
database
be
file
any
essentially.
way to just rip the database file and migrate it. I've been trying a few, like, oh, well, you can clone your app or you can make an APK, and like none of them work.
Okay.
So that
And so
that
the
is
only
one
reason
of
I
the
ask
bummers.
is I had that same problem at the beginning when DB Legends first came out for Dragon Ball, and backup wasn't available. But then they later on instituted Google, basically Google Backup, like Drive, and it doesn't use Play Games, but it does back up directly to Google Drive. So you just do a
That's
backup, kind
good.
of like WhatsApp, and then when you log it into the game again, and on the next device, you just restore from the backup, and it brings in all your progress because
See,
characters and so on.
that's what I did with Sentinel. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that as a tower defense game, but Sentinel 3 would like didn't talk to Google servers at all, but you could go into the settings of the game and say
Back up to
make a
this or
backup, and it would dump this weird file in your documents, and you just move that over to your new phone, and it would work.
One of the reasons
So
back when I rooted all my phones, why I loved Titanium Backup. Titanium Backup for me was like the gold source of backup. It takes everything and it scrapes everything and basically puts it on the backup, and you could restore it exactly the way it is. But so short answer is, so this is a type of a game that you play on one device and you want to continue playing it on one phone, but transferring it and continue. So for me, it shouldn't be a problem. We still have the ROG phone 2.
mhm.
It is the gaming phone of the family, that consistent phone that till it dies, it will be the phone. Um, and I say that because the display is delaminating at this point. But
Aw.
it is it's I mean, realistically, when the first broke, when it first broke and I replaced it, I hoped that everything was going to be working great, but I feel like either I just didn't do a good enough job picking out the right double-sided adhesive tape for it,
Yeah.
because that didn't stay, so it popped. And then now for me to fix it, I would have to disassemble the entire phone again to go back, and I don't want to try to perturb it. I feel like at some point I may end up just literally ripping the wrong ribbon, and all of my son's progress goes down the tubes. So, but short answer is, what I'll do is I'll start it up on a device that I know I will keep playing. But for at least for now, it will be on the Mi 11 Ultra. That's where I'm downloading it, so it'll be good.
So yeah, I mean, I'd give it a spin. And the thing
Yeah.
is, it is kind of like as you sort of progress through, you finish sort of the main campaign, and then you can kind of push into a tier 2 where it's basically kind of the same game but a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
And so once you beat it once, the replayability, I mean, the replayability for me is just like, oh, I remember this map, and you can kind of like play around with maybe a different strategy for how you might get through, or to pick different units to accomplish that.
Yeah.
So it's a little less precious that your full game save is, because you'd probably just end up wiping out your character anyway to start fresh, you know.
Yeah. No. It's mostly the only reason why I asked, because different games deal with them differently. Like, we all know
Mhm.
how things are, and it just progress is a thing. And as you know, I tend to switch gaming. The phones that I'm playing games on are typically ones I'm switching quite a bit. So
Yeah.
I want to be able to at least continue. So with Genshin, I for the most part, I think the reason I got into it was originally, I think Josh Vergara, our buddy, kind of turned me on to it, and then I played it a couple of times, and I realized that whatever phone I kept playing this game, especially when I pushed the settings to highest, and I pushed
Mhm.
60 frames. We're not even talking; it doesn't go higher than 60 FPS. It's not that
Right.
high. Um, any phone I ran kind of had some temperatures. The 9 Pro actually handled it quite well. It didn't get as hot as some of the devices, which was something I wasn't expecting.
Mhm.
The Mi 11 and the Mi 11 Ultra kind of like fall on the same boat. Although we have better thermal hardware in the Mi 11 Ultra, it still is able to push. So as a game for me, where I played 30 minutes of what is it called? PUBG Mobile on highest, ultra and highest gaming quality.
That's
It
good.
it didn't have any problem, and it handled it quite well. But Genshin, nope, Genshin will cook. Uh, so it depends on the game, but I'm going to see how Undead Horde, as you said, with managing multiple, having so many pieces running at the same time. How does the 888 handle here? And does it give me the same performance or same thermal concerns or issues? I mean, it's not super bad that the phone doesn't shut down. That's one thing I would say. It kept playing,
But
but I
so
wasn't measuring frame rates at the
it's
same
way
time. So I
worse
don't.
to me. So like when what what is it that I played it before on? Undead Horde last year was mostly played on my 8T.
Okay.
Um it- the game
Let me see if it's finished.
at max graphics, and especially as you get into about 20 minutes, it's right at around 20 minutes where you're starting to understand the game mechanics, and you're picking up a lot more units, and you can
Hmm.
kind of control better what units are actually under your control. um I feel it was way better on the 8T, hanging out at like 45 frames per second,
Hmm.
than it was on the S21, where it would kind of spike up to the high 90s and then crash to the mid 30s. That was so much more noticeable and distracting than just hanging out at a lower frame rate. Like, oh, well, it would look so much smoother at 60 frames per second. No, hanging out at 45, the game looked and played great,
Hmm.
and it wasn't fluctuating like crazy. So that was really my big problem, and where I really started getting worried on the S21.
Hmm.
The OnePlus 9s, flat as a table, 60 frames per second, getting into 30 minutes of gameplay. The phone is warm to the touch. it
Oh,
is not it is not cool,
there's not
but
going to be a version of the
it's not
888 that doesn't
it's
get
not
warm. Yeah.
spiking higher. And I think
No.
that's really the big problem. Technically, the SoC and the GPU should be able to hit 90 frames per second in very short interactions. You
Mhm.
don't want that if it's then going to run so hot after 30 seconds of gameplay that the frame rate crashes. And instead, you peg it at 60
Mhm.
and keep that flat as a table, and the game is just gorgeous. So I'd be
Yeah.
curious to see, especially once you're playing with the 11 Ultra,
Mhm.
throwing the 11 Ultra side by side with like the 9 Pro, how if they handle that any differently.
Well, I'll have to see. I'll have to see how the performance is, especially with Undertale, and see how what is the frame rate that it's running. I know for, like I said, even though it did get warm with Genshin, I did not notice any stuttering, any difference in performance. The game was very smooth. The interaction, the response, everything stayed the same. It did run warm, and I felt like it was warmer than the 9 Pro, but it was not showing me any degradation. But I wasn't plugged in. I wasn't trying to read the frame rates. That's one thing I really appreciated about what's it called with the Red Magic 6, because at least you have a built-in frame rate display that
Yeah.
shows you the frame rate consistently, so you always know what's going on. And very few third-party apps that are not root requiring apps run smoothly. So I need to get something like what's it called? Not Geekbench. Man, I have another tool that I usually use for frame rate to basically measurement so on. So
Oh,
short
like,
answer,
what is it? KF Mark or something like that? Are you
no,
using that?
Game Bench. I think I want to say it's called Game Bench.
Oh, Game Bench.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
So I've used their service before, and theirs is very simple, very easy. The only game I could never get it to run was Fortnite, but that was mostly because Fortnite always blocked it once you jumped off the bus. No, but like running something like Game Bench just to get the numbers on it, because it also
Yeah, for
pulls in
sure.
a lot of data from it. Uh, and I want to see how it's performing, especially with the thermals. But yeah, looking forward to checking it out, and we'll have to see how that goes. But again, we'll have to see also how the updates and things go on, because I'm wondering if literally if the update that we got was primarily a GPU update, like an actual GPU update from Qualcomm, right? Because that was their biggest thing with
It was
from
the
the
big
20.
promise of the A65 is that we were supposed to have dedicated GPU drivers.
OEMs can push out, or they can push out the GPU drivers. It was going to be an independent install. It's like updating your drivers on your PC, right? And they said it again with the 888. It was another thing. It's not like it disappeared. Um, but it's one of those things that you always kind of like. You hear it doesn't really kind of materialize, or at least
Mhm.
nobody talks about it. But then when you said that the most of the performance boost that you saw with the Pixel 5 was
GPU.
on the GPU,
Yeah.
that I was like, okay, wait a minute. Did Qualcomm, or did Google finally release an update to the GPU using Qualcomm or whatever? It could be it, but if I remember correctly, I think that's one of the reasons why they were trying to go with Whitechapel. It's because they do want to decouple from Qualcomm's update
And have more
cycles
control over I mean,
and more
again,
control. Yeah, yeah,
you don't have control over your destiny that for the excuse me, for that kind of performance, then yeah, it gets trickier to kind of fulfill promises to your customers.
yeah.
I would say, especially in light of like just how silly long we'll see software patches on iPhones, I feel like Qualcomm is trying to step up, but they also have a completely different business than
Then
Apple. And
yeah.
so at least we're starting to see these glimmers where Samsung can pressure Qualcomm because they're making these promises about 4 years of updates.
Hmm.
And Google is doing really interesting work moving more patching
Hmm.
over to Play services. So
Exactly.
it's taking it out of the hands of OEMs, of
Hmm.
the manufacturers, and doing more software patching directly. So you kind of get the sense that like there is pressure being applied. We are seeing some progress, but one of the best things that's going to motivate Qualcomm to improve even more is if a
There's
few more players start just rolling their own,
oh
and that's going to
the
be a more competitive market for Qualcomm to step up to.
Absolutely, and I feel like having Samsung and Google at the helm of this, they're the right players. They have enough market share. They have enough know-how to be able to get it up and running. Exynos has been around for some time. It's not like Samsung's trying this for the first time, kind of getting into it. So definitely the right team to play. But before we jump off too far from the software update conversation, I did want to talk a little bit more also about the little bit of news that we just saw. At least I got an
Yeah.
email early this morning, was it, or late last night, that there
Well,
was another
I got it from
our buddy, right?
XDA Michal.
Michelle. So he got the
Yeah.
email. He and I got the email at the same time, but I'm assuming he posted. Well, I didn't post an
Oh, I
article,
mean,
so
XDA had the article
written up and ready to go. It's like
immediately, and so I just like
that's the magic of Michelle, by the way. I
I'm
was
just
going to
gonna
say
retweet him. I mean, like he beat me to it.
he did
There's
the
no point in
work.
me
He put
trying
it
to
up.
like
It's in there. It's a
I'm gonna say, and then
ha-
also people expect me to make whole videos about stuff like that because it's LG.
when it
I'll just give him the kudos. He earned it.
dude when I have a creator when I know a creator that I follow that I respect and I know that they've done a lot of the work on a part of something that maybe I'm working on as well. I don't like to double dip or trying to recreate the
Yeah,
perfection that has already been created. When you do your deep dives and different things like that, I don't want to recreate that and try to make it sound like I'm doing something that
but
is,
he is so on top of that kind of news,
oh no,
and
no,
I'm always playing
absolutely.
catch up. So
He's yes, Michal is a genius when it comes to these things, and I very very much so. But the answer is essentially is that LG, although obviously we saw the initial press release talking about them exiting the LG mobile space,
mhm.
it seems like there's a little bit, there's going to be some life left in, at least in software update for some of their,
So what's going to be interesting is their software promises seem to be 1 year better than what we would normally assume from
mhm,
LG in operation. So they're saying 3 years of total software support for newer premium phones and 2 years of software support for K series and Stylo.
mhm.
Where historically in the past, it's kind of a big deal if a Stylo gets any kind of
I was like,
legit
be on day
software
one. Yeah.
attention. Yeah, I mean, outside of any kind of early bug fixes and then very, very off schedule security patches,
Mhm.
usually is demanded by the carrier.
Yeah.
They sell those phones so cheap. There's very little attention paid to them for long term support. So if that's what they're able to accomplish, it makes me feel a lot better
Mhm.
about recommending um I would say from G8 on fire sale pricing.
Yeah.
So if you were thinking maybe picking up a G8, maybe a V50 is dicier, especially in North America because of all of the carrier
It was a
5G
heavily, yeah.
bands.
I was going to say it was a Sprint specific, wasn't it, at the time?
The Sprint one is yeah, I probably shouldn't get that one. But then Velvet V60 and Wing,
Mhm.
it once we start seeing, because you can already pick up a V60 on Swappa for like 350. That makes me feel a lot better about
It,
saying,
it
hey,
it's a
you could
it's a
run this
great
phone for a while and
and
you're not going
still
to feel any performance penalty on V60 for 2021. So
no.
much of what V60 does well is going to still be hanging with
Mhm.
Snapdragon 888s today.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And the fact that you're going to not only expect it to get Android 11, which it already has, but obviously Android 12, the color, the white, that white backing, it's starting to grow on me, man. It's one of my
I
favorite
still think
phones.
blue is the better look, but
I
I
tried.
love my V60, so at this point I just don't even care. Did I tell you about the stupid armor case I got for it?
No. Oh, wait,
So
wait,
it's
hold on.
called
Did we talk about that? Wait, sorry. Say it
we
one more
might
time.
have. I don't know. I
Yeah,
might be
yeah, yeah,
repeating myself, but I think I need to do a video on it now, like how to protect your V60 since they won't make any more of them. It's called like the Love Me or Love May or Love
yeah.
My. I can't remember how you pronounce the name of the company. So I wanted an armor case. My phone lives in dual display, but there are some times where I want to take it out of the dual display and just put it in something as a normal single screen phone. And
Yep.
I get this case that looks really cool, and I get it, and it actually has little screws and Allen wrenches that you
We
have
did.
to
Yeah.
torque the phone into the case. And like, oh, this is not going to be the solution for what I need. But now I'm thinking maybe I will. Maybe my V60 will now just live in tank case
Take
so I can
case.
keep it forever safe. It's so ridiculous. It is the worst kind of overkill, but in the best possible way.
But it also isn't in there anymore. So I'm noticing you're you're showing us the case uncovered. No, yeah, no. It's one of those things you have to kind of you have to kind of read the reviews and look at the pictures and see.
Well,
Comes with its
I was
own
looking at the
screwdriver. Should
pictures,
have been.
like, so they didn't really hype that up, and you look at the back of the photos, and it's got these little, like, rivets.
Yeah,
Like,
those
"Oh,
most likely
yeah,"
are
I
fake.
mean, like, a bunch of phones have that. What Urban Armor, UAG cases,
Oh,
they
absolutely.
have,
Yeah.
like, those fake bolts on the back. You just take that for granted, so I get it, and you're like, oh, no, those are functional.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. No,
you really do need to, like, torque okay. Well, that's kinda silly. See, yeah, exactly. Like, those are totally fake.
yeah. No, I totally understand. But yes, no, it's one of those things you want to protect. But it's nice to see. I say like I said, it was. I think I saw something from Michelle saying that there was a rumor I think it was on Tuesday that yes, LG may be supporting some additional software updates. I tried reaching out over to LG. I didn't hear back yet. And then, of course, the
Oh,
next email I get back from them is straight
it's just
up.
the press release
It's
that
the press release saying exactly what I was asking about in the question that I sent. So
so
I was like,
the thing that's still gonna be an issue, and we'll have to unfortunately play individual by individual. I don't know that there's any guarantee that every region is gonna get the same quality of software support, and I feel
mhm.
some of this is also being based on carrier relationships.
Well,
So I
that's
feel
the
that
thing. Yeah.
the phones looking to get the weakest software support will probably be unlocked models because they don't have any carrier obligations, they don't have any other contracts, they don't have any other support requirements.
Mhm.
So I think if you're on an unlocked LG, you might be on the weakest option for some of these longer term updates.
I wonder how it's going to also work, even with the carrier versions, because you remember so the software update doesn't actually go straight from LG to our smartphone. It goes from LG to the carriers. The carriers push it over to our smartphone because they
Mhm.
still need to bake in their version of the
Oh yeah.
software and so on and so forth. So my question would be: is that to what point do we think OEMs, not OEM carriers, are going to still carry support or updates for devices that they no longer sell? See, this
Yeah.
is where the limitation is going to end up hitting us in 2021. We don't have a new phone that carriers are going to start being able to latch on. They're no longer making older generations. So at some point, stock's going to expire. LG will no longer be in anywhere.
So I'd be curious. I feel after some point there's going to be an accounting or a tipping point where it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense for a carrier to finish a software update, and
And I'm
then the
wondering if
market
it,
kind of languishes. But
yeah.
I feel like the phones that are already out there,
Mhm.
if they're getting even just the security and bug fixes, it behooves a carrier to make sure that devices are being updated and that maintenance is being applied to anything that's running on their network.
Exactly.
So we know they're going to be slow. There is no urgency from a carrier to get software out on an LG because of the significantly smaller consumer base.
Mhm.
But you still want to get those updates out because you don't want poorly running devices clogging up your network.
No,
So it's I kind of feel like LG can make this promise in 3 years. How many people are still going to be
rock.
vocally like vetting the promise? Because it's the same thing, it's like it's a really nice sentiment that Samsung's saying they're going to put 4 years of software updates. How many tech reviewers are we going to see going back to
4 years later.
four-year-old Samsungs to really and not just look at whether or not you got 4 years of software, but like, did you get 4 years of quality software? Did they really fix issues? Did they just move problems around?
Mhm.
It's a nice, it's a wonderful talking point, and it's a very nice sentiment in the Android community.
No.
But when we're really looking at the reality of people flipping their phones, just under or just over 2 years, what I would really like to see more of is holding companies accountable to that 3-year window,
Mhm.
really getting 3 years of good, focused, quality updates. And so far, the company that I feel kind of lives up to that the best is the Pixel, where even Apple has huge feature fragmentation
Mhm.
between all of their other iPhones. Like, Pixels get new features, and we're seeing them improve performance and not slowing phones down. And
No, no, no.
like,
Google's doing
it's
it the right
actually
way.
pretty remarkable. And so, like, I'm kind of happy to pay a bit more of a premium on a Pixel for the hardware that you get,
Mhm.
considering that Google's a software company.
Yeah.
They I'm kind of okay balancing software and hardware against that price tag in a different way than I would on, like a Black Shark, where I'm not confident Black Shark is going to get that kind of software attention,
No,
or a Red Magic.
it
The price is so competitive on a Red Magic. Let's not pretend that this is going to be a highly updated, every month getting security patches kind of phone.
no, and I think, well, unfortunately, if we have to kind of go with newbie as history when it comes down to updating devices, yes, I can attest to some experiences after day one sales kind of thing.
Yeah,
All the patch updates come through, and then for a while you kind of go and you kind of like, I would have to actually say this much. ASUS of all companies though does a very good job at updating their devices. At least for our
good
ROG
to
phone
know.
2, I've been receiving consistent updates on that phone, and it got Android 11 on it. It was just like, I was totally surprised, like the updates that keep coming. And I didn't even have the US version. I had the Tencent
Yeah,
edition.
that's
About the
good.
So to me, I felt like that was a big push for me because those are the things I liked about them. I chose not to cover the ROG Phone 3 at the time, mostly because I felt like it wasn't an upgrade from the 2, but the 5
Mhm.
seems like it's doing a little bit of its job. So we'll have to see how the continuation. It's all going to be software conversations at some point because, like you said, software makes things better.
It
Um,
should.
it should, in theory, it
We see
should.
this.
Yes.
This is what's so upsetting is, like, even my wife, when we were
Hmm.
talking about, like,
Software is
what
not
phone
working
to
for
get
her.
her. No, 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 no. She's
Kidding,
doing
just
great
kidding.
now because she's on a Pixel.
Yeah, yeah.
So when
I
she sees those software updates, it's like we're having to undo years of conditioning where every time she would see a software update, she would assume this is going to make my phone run worse.
Yep.
And she was actually kind of happy that, like, her flavor of the G7 just kind of got off the Android update chain as soon
A
as
while
she
back.
got it. And she never had any major OTAs or major operating system updates, and her phone ran great. And it was like it was confirming her assessment of the thing. Is like, my G7 isn't getting updates. It's running as I expected it to from when I first bought it. This continues to supply evidence to the fact that software updates are bad and I shouldn't install them. And you're like, that's not what we should be training consumers to do. And it's a
I
very common refrain, especially in my circles of family,
Mhm.
because that used to be, I think, a more strategic consumer pressure point for planned obsolescence. And so now, if a company actually starts doing this well, where the software contributes to a 20% jump in graphics performance,
Mhm.
like, man, the messaging on that is special because people need to understand that's what good software should do.
It
And
should help.
unfortunately, I think, like, Adam's probably out of it, but I've been following his videos on Samsung because, he got an S21 Ultra.
Yeah.
I'm really condensing this. He got an S21 Ultra and it was running great. It had awesome battery life. And now on the most recent updates for One UI, he's down to, like, under 5 hours of screen on time on a phone with a 5,000
1,000
milliamp hour.
milliampere.
And this is like a 40% reduction in his runtime from when he first got it. You're like, I get it. You're getting more software from Samsung. I don't know that it's better. And
It
honestly, from a company that is so thirsty to copy Apple on everything, including battery throttling, I don't trust that they're really going to be looking to improve the performance of their phones over 4 years, so much as they're going to put a lot of software out, but they're really looking at ways that they can encourage
Mhm.
you to trade
Upgrade.
that phone in so that you stay in the Samsung ecosystem. I don't believe their business model is
It
really going to be make the phone better like Google will.
No, it definitely it's not. I've seen many times where like I would get a brand new Samsung phone and I get it out of the box and I start using it, and it runs in weird way. The one's like actually much better, great signal,
Hmm.
reception, battery performance is actually really good. And then if a couple of updates later on come in, signal strength starts degrading a little bit, and we're not getting as fast of an internet connection anymore in the same area that we were before. It's a weird relationship when it comes down to Samsung updates. You're right. It more in this situation is not necessarily better, but you need to start. This is why you kind of need to do a little bit of research when you're getting a device, and understanding that what you get at day one may not be what you have at day one. At day
Yeah.
365 or
Or
2
like
years.
Gary the Fireman is bringing up Razer Phone 2, which I believe is on the February security
Here they
patch
are.
for
Yeah, it
2021,
February with
which is
and with,
insane.
but it's still not even on Android. It's still on
No,
Android.
no,
It's
no,
not.
no. Because again, if we're kind of thinking like, hey, this phone was a screamer performance wise on Android 9. Maybe don't mess with it.
Keep
Maybe
it on.
we're good on Android
Yeah,
9, but we're up
no,
to date
on security
on
patch update.
security.
I like it. I like it, Gary. That's how we should just keep it at 9, and let's forget about 10, 11, or even that 12 thing that people
Oh,
are
I
talking
mean,
about.
like I think that ship is definitely sailed, but it's
Yeah.
just shocking. Again, I pulled it out because um like again, testing on Undead Horde.
Hmm.
The Razer Phone 2 is nipping at the heels of the Galaxy S21.
Oh wow,
Snapdragon
nice.
845 on Android 9 against an 888
88.
on Android 11. Differences in RAM, differences in storage technologies, because we're all supposed to be really care about UFS 3.1 or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah.
It still
The
runs.
Razer Phone 2 and the Razer Phone 2 not fluctuating. So it's not driving this game as well as a OnePlus 9, but it is running it consistent. Whereas the Samsung is dipping and flipping all over the place. And you're like, you build a phone for a purpose and you overbuy for some of that purpose,
Hmm.
it surprisingly can last you a little bit longer than sort of an all-rounder general purpose device might.
I like Aditya. Wait a minute. Did Razer just make something magical there?
I loved the Razer phone. It made me so great.
Dude,
So again,
mine
I
is
mean,
right there.
from Next Bit
Most.
Robin
Yep.
getting bought up by Razer, and my Razer laptop is still doing pretty well. I mean, I've got an older Razer Blade 14.
Hmm.
Um, I just it made me crazy. I was so sad that they only went 2 generations on Razer phone because like you just look at the kind of competition we have today, and I just can't just imagine what we would have with Razer in the gaming space making phones in a very similar aesthetic and style to Sony. And
Absolutely.
so many of those core ideas, stereo speakers, a monolith style form factor and build quality,
Exactly.
so much focus on, because Razer was ahead of the curve on like big vapor chambers and
Oh yeah.
thermal hardware and processing. And just imagine if they were, doing some of the tricks that Sony is doing now with HS power control. I just like this would have been such an amazing competitor with just 2 more generations of refinement.
But isn't
And
it
the
weird though?
phone was already great.
Isn't it weird though that to this point, I mean, we're done with Q1, we're starting in Q2, and we still haven't seen any other company try to bring in what Sony brought in 2020. That HS power control feature, honestly, it's one of the most like
I mean,
underappreciated features that
closest is Asus because of their different like charge modes. I like what they're doing there, but I want something that is just as deliberate at what Sony is doing. Your
yeah.
phone goes to trickle charge state,
Hmm.
and most of the power that's coming off your charger is just going to drive the phone,
Don't build up
and
heat.
it
Exactly.
works, and
Yeah.
it works really well.
It's an ingenious, it's something that I feel like Razer would have done the right way, because it's also a PC thing. Like you run
Hmm.
your laptop on power and you running it, you know what it is. It's the
The,
battery's
the
charged. It's
the
not running it off of that.
the
You don't.
room for improvement
Mhm.
is, I feel what Razer would have done would have is they would have made it system wide.
Okay.
because it's the one thing I wish I had on my Xperia 1 Mark II. I wish I could use the
HS power
cinema
control.
on the cinema camera
Yeah,
apps, because
because it does
that
run.
because the cameras run phones toasty. It would be nice to take the battery out of the equation
Mhm.
when you're shooting 4K HDR video. I want to toggle for the whole phone
Yeah.
to
No,
go
I
into HS power control, not to
because
go app by
because you
app.
can't add a, Cinema Pro or Camera Pro into gaming mode to be able to enable that feature on it. I've tried. So yeah, no, it's one of those. So like, hopefully, we'll have to see what Sony has to say next week. Realistically, with the with the next
It's
Xperia,
coming up.
there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of leaks. We're obviously hopefully looking for confirmation that the headphone jack is still there, because that is like a big. That would be a weird conversation where one year Sony comes in and says, "Yeah, we like it. We're
Bring
listening
it
to our
back.
fans," and the year later, like,
It's gone.
nope, yeah, we needed it because we no, and it's like they'll say, but hopefully everything kind of like stacks up to where it is, and unfortunately tomorrow I do need to return the Xperia Pro. Every time I get it, I keep getting it for like a short amount of time, and the moment I'm done with the commitment that I have with Sony, I get the email, the standard email. Sorry, we are so sorry to ask, but we need we need it back ASAP. Yeah, no, it's a fun phone to play with, and it's a great, um, like, it's definitely something that I'm glad that they were able to put out there, and I'm glad that people get a chance to see how much it's capable of doing. And I was able to have a couple of shows with Sony talking about it and hanging out with them, so it was kind of nice. So it was
Mhm.
good. Yeah, Wednesday we had a show, and I I love doing these. I love talking about things that I really really enjoy, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's one of those situations you always like. Like, I was smiling the whole time, and I seriously was doing time management to the next level. Like, every 2 minutes, I was looking at my watch, making sure I don't cross the hour, because we only had like an
Mm.
hour, and there's a Q&A and a whole bunch of stuff. Rolando was in the chat, so he was also hanging out with us at DT as well. So it was kind of nice. It was good.
It's a fun doing live is always fun.
Yeah,
It's
man.
really
I miss the Newack crew, you and Trish hanging out, doing the Thursday shows.
man, those are so good.
It was a
I
lot of
need to
fun,
follow
man.
up with her now that I've wrapped up that Qualcomm project. She was saying like, well, maybe we should talk to some of our friends and just pitch our own show. So we'll have to see if we can't make something kind of
Yeah,
fun happen.
it'll happen. I'm sure you guys are, honestly, you guys have a great chemistry on camera, and the performance as far as overall hard work, the techness, the nerdiness, the geekiness, all of that comes out in the conversations. Like, seriously, it's like two little kids hanging out and just geeking out over the D&D and stuff like that. So just to me, it's one of
Yeah,
those. It's a fun show. So hopefully, whatever you guys end up working on it, it'll be magic.
I
The
again,
Gathering.
she's well, I was really
I
bad
had
at
to close it
messaging.
up there.
I like yes, it will be Vampire the Eternal Struggle.
It'll be an eternal struggle for vampires. Yeah, no, I get it.
That was my card game of choice. So there was Vampire the Masquerade, and then
Yes.
Vampire Vitesse,
Okay.
Vampire the Eternal Struggle. And I have so okay, when that game came out, I got into it pretty deep, and I had a couple friends that were kind of into it for a short while, but then they went back to Magic, and I basically inherited their decks.
Oh,
So I have just shoe boxes
I thought you were going
and
to go with the
card
other SH
boxes
word there. I was going to say, man, watch out
of
for the language.
yeah, right, of V-Test, where I could probably like supply an entire clan of people playing just off of
Off of
these
the
old cards and decks and stuff. So yeah, I should probably dig those back out. But anyway, sorry. You
absolutely.
said Magic the Gathering and my brain went
No,
somewhere
I it,
far
it,
away.
it was keywords, man, specific words to transition on. But Aditya does have a quick question regarding the Qualcomm stuff. He's wondering, is the actual partnership complete, or is there more interviews going on that
Oh,
we
okay.
may see
So
this soon?
the Qualcomm thing is gonna be different influencers and different folks for different parts of conversations. So when
Okay.
they start digging into like, I'm not gonna be the face of an entire Qualcomm Insider or Snapdragon Insider campaign.
Okay.
I'm going to be one of their resources moving forward for future audio chats. Like they're
Nice.
really looking at me for sound stuff. And I am talking to them. It's going to be later into this insider program, but I want to talk to them about stuff like hearing health and hearing aids and
Hmm.
accessibility. That's really going to be my next big push. I don't know if we're going to do it, but that's what I'm pitching them because
Hmm.
I feel like that's a woefully underserved conversation. The
Absolutely.
other aspects of Snapdragon Insiders are going to be covered by other influencers. So
Okay.
this first major interview style interview style influencer thing,
Thing.
this little chunk of it, I'm done with that. I'm not
Yeah.
done with my relationship with them. That was the major project that we wanted to kick this stuff off with.
Absolutely, yeah. James Vincent just joined us, and a quick answer for El Jefe or Jeff. So we don't. I have the ROG Phone 5. I haven't been doing a lot of videos on it. I'm in the process of finishing my review for the Red Magic 6, and as soon as I'm done with the review on that, which has a certain timeline that we need to be able to release. I want to do a head-to-head comparison between the two before that unit vaporizes from my finger, because Nubia and Red Magic don't let me keep things for a long time. It's almost as fast as Sony when it comes down to hardware. It's done. Please box it, put it in mail. See ya. Because it goes to, I think they are limited with hardware, and they sent me actually a 10-cent edition rough with a global ROM on it. They didn't even send me the actual hardware. Like I wanted to play with the Pro, but at the end, I think it's a good experience. But I think also some people were also talking about the Legion that just came out. There's a whole bunch of
Mhm.
videos being dropped with the dual cooling system Legion phone, which I feel like is the right solution for an 888 smartphone
Yeah,
that's designed for gaming.
big time.
You need water cooling block on the back just to kind of like get that thing running. Um, it depends on what you're trying to do. I think we'll have to kind of figure out what's going on with different devices, and uh, is I feel like we've kind of hit a peak to a certain point with devices and hardware at the beginning of the year. It's really how what can they top at the end of it, right? Other than just pushing out more mid rangers.
And this is what's going to also be kind of frustrating too is there are a few other players that are going to be throwing in some mid-year premium
Mhm.
tier phones, and then people are going to act like, oh yeah, but it's like too late.
It,
Like,
it's going to be such an interesting,
you need to keep
pro.
this mixed up, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't I don't know that there's a right time. And in fact, if anything, this is the right year to maybe launch a little late
Wait,
because
learn from other people.
and then also, make sure your product is buttoned down, is as cleaned up and as refined as you can make it. And I mean, if you're telling me that like Samsung deserves to win showdowns because they were one of the first out of the gate, I'm not feeling great about folks on S21s. I feel like you get more consistent performance on S20s. I
Mhm.
feel like the build quality was better on S20s. I feel like there were more features that you could take advantage of on S20s. The screens were nicer on S20s. The mag stripe payments, the memory card support. I don't see it. So there is plenty of room to compete. There is plenty of room to go
Absolutely.
oh, but it's gonna be more expensive because it's a better phone. It's
You're
more phone. It's
They
gonna
took
be
time to actually get it to come out the right
better.
way. No, 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 absolutely. And before it gets too long, DT, have a good day, man. Take care of your schooling and stuff like that with academics. Appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us as well.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, now that Aditi is out, we should probably start wrapping this up
yeah.
anyway.
With that being said, thank you everybody for checking out the show. We'll be
And
back.
peace.
Peace. So that's how we lose everybody. But no, I think we are kind of almost at that sweet spot, anyways. Either way, but it's one of
Progress.
those. Uh, there's a lot of things coming up. So next week, definitely looking forward to seeing what Sony has to talk about. LG, um, it's one of those weird conversations. Like you don't want it to come, but it did, and it did actually materialize. Silver lining with the software, I feel like that's a good solution, at least for people that did decide to spend their
Mhm.
hard-earned money on devices from them. And I feel like the V60, even at that reduced, amazingly reduced price, it still is a steal for what it offers and what you have to try the hardware and understand and just check it out. And especially with Android 11 update now, because out of the box, if you're getting it new anyways, you're probably going to get the update, flash it, and start fresh. And as Juan did with his, it's going to literally be the best. Uh, so I'm going to be trying the undead hordes. I'll see how the Mi 11 Ultra does handle that. On the camera side, though, seriously, 8K from all three sensors, 4K 60 from all three sensors on the back. We have stabilized video. We also have audio monitoring. I forgot to even mention it. I think I did mention it in the video. They have video audio monitoring while you're recording, so you can record audio, but then listen to it and to see exactly how the audio is coming in.
So like the V60.
Yeah, no, they're learning. Like seriously, Xiaomi is pulling like so many. Like
That's
they
good.
seriously just opened up other people's books and they're like, I like this. I'll put this. I'll put this. I'll put this. If there is one thing that I want them to push, hopefully very soon, is to give us that rear display function in video, not just in pictures. I was expecting it
Oh,
to be in
right.
video. That was a big like, oh my god, I really, because the video is the one you want to keep and make sure that you're in frame, right? When you're using the standard focal length, but
Right.
they give you all the modes with the wide, so there's no way of you missing anything. You just turn it up into wide and shoot in 8K. So what you know, so short answer, I think it's a great competitor. There's going to be a lot of good things, and we'll have to see. You know, we'll see. And then
It'll be good times.
Juan, we'll have to see how your week next week. Hopefully, it turns out to be a really good week, and you have a good rest of this week.
So tomorrow I'm getting that U Perfect out. Which have you gotten to play with the Next Dock 360 or the U Perfect X?
Not you prefer the 360. I reached out the next stock and they promised me a unit, but I haven't seen anything yet. So I haven't.
Do you want it? It looks very similar to the U Perfect X. So if
I
you'd
think
like,
that's
I can send you mine, and if you want to take it for a spin, you could
right.
get
Why not?
a different company's take on a 360-degree hinge laptop dock.
Oh no, absolutely. I wouldn't mind playing with it. I've always appreciated flexibility and making things
Right.
work more.
Then
So
my video on that is going to be out tomorrow. I don't know that I can get it in the mail to you tomorrow, but
uh,
I'll get it packed up for you, and we'll get
I
it
was going
shipped.
to say anything realistically. I think for me for this week, it's going to pretty much crescent with the Saturday morning show. It's still spring break. We're still trying to entertain our 11-year-old and trying to get him enjoying his week so that we can get back fresh Monday to go back to work and schooling
Nice.
and everything like that, normal stuff. So yeah, no, please take your time. I think it'll be definitely very nice. But yeah, with that being said, I want to say, of course, thank you to everybody for hanging out with us. All that tech. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to read. So all that tech is also hanging out with us as well. I think he came in earlier. Jeff, Tech King Mike, and of course, Aditya was in there a little bit earlier. Adam was in there. Tech Odyssey, of course. If I'm not mistaken, I think Andrew also. Fat Produce was also in there. James Vincent. Everybody hanging out with us, and Ranesh is of course, and Gabrieleta. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And I jump into Spanish mode sometimes, and I don't know if I say it right. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you have a good rest of the day, rest of the evening, rest of the day, depending where you are. And we'll see you guys hopefully next week on. Are we going to call it 17, or are we going to stick to say we'll go to 18? We'll do an autocorrect.
We'll
We'll
do
figure it out.
17. We'll say that there was one mysterious lost episode of the podcast.
Yeah, we should have that though, because then when we hit it big, we'll start talking about the lost episode that it just never made it.
Did you ever hear? They were so bummed out, and they were just playing Tetris. What?
And TK lost the whole time. Like what?
I mean, I'm pretty good. I'm just saying. I was gonna say. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for
Yeah,
watching, and be amazing to each other. Be
absolutely.
good tech neighbors, good tech citizens, and we'll catch you back here next week, folks.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Bam.